Have you ever woken up more than once at night just to use the bathroom? If you're over 55, chances are the answer is yes, and you're far from alone. In fact, studies show that up to 70% of older adults experience nocturia, or frequent nighttime urination. But here's the twist. It's not just your bladder or prostate that's responsible. It's also your brain, your blood vessels, and surprisingly, your diet. What we eat can either calm the bladder and support urinary function, or aggravate it, triggering overactive signaling from the nervous system that tells the body to eliminate fluid even when it doesn't need to. But here's where the science gets really interesting. Certain vegetables, yes, specific ones, have been shown to reduce inflammation in the urinary tract, regulate bladder signaling, enhance kidney function, and even improve hormonal balance that impacts how much urine your body produces and when. Think of it like this. Every time you eat, you're not just fueling your body, you're either training your bladder to behave calmly or overloading it with triggers that force it to stay on high alert. And if your sleep is suffering because of this, it's not a minor inconvenience. Poor sleep reduces testosterone, increases cortisol, disrupts cognitive repair, weakens muscle recovery, and accelerates biological aging. In other words, frequent urination at night isn't just a bladder issue. It's a full-body threat to your long-term vitality. So today, we're going to flip the script. We'll look at 3 powerful vegetables backed by science that help your body naturally reduce nighttime urination. Not with medication, not with gimmicks, but with targeted, smart nutrition that's been shown to work with your biology, not against it. You'll also learn why certain veggies act as natural diuretics and why that's not always a bad thing, how bladder nerves respond to certain compounds in food, and the ideal timing and combinations to support uninterrupted, restful sleep. And yes, this is for men and women. Whether it's prostate swelling or bladder instability, the root issue is overactive signaling, and we're going to address that from the ground up. Let's dive into the science. You might think frequent nighttime urination is all about the bladder, but that's only half the story. What most people don't realize is that the urge to urinate at night is largely a brain-driven process, tied deeply to how your nervous system interprets bladder fullness, especially as we age. Here's what the research shows. In healthy adults, the pontine micturition center in the brainstem regulates when your bladder sends the go signal. At night, the brain naturally inhibits this process, helping us sleep undisturbed, even as urine slowly collects in the bladder. But with age, inflammation, or even stress, this brain-bladder signaling loop becomes disrupted. The result? You start getting the signal to urinate too early, even if your bladder isn't full. A study published in Urology and Urodynamics found that older adults often experience functional bladder hypersensitivity, where the nerves around the bladder become more reactive due to chronic irritation or hormonal shifts. This causes the brain to misinterpret the signal and send you to the bathroom far too often. Now, here's where food comes in. Certain nutrients, especially those found in vegetables, play a critical role in modulating this neural loop. Magnesium, potassium, and anti-inflammatory compounds can help calm the detrusor muscle of the bladder and regulate nerve excitability. Let's make this relatable. Imagine your bladder like a balloon and your nervous system like a thermostat. In youth, the thermostat is calibrated. It only turns on when it's truly full. But with age, that thermostat becomes too sensitive, turning on when the balloon is only half full. What you eat can recalibrate the thermostat, helping your brain relearn what full actually feels like. A simple tool to apply is this. If you want to reduce bladder overactivity at night, focus on foods that provide magnesium, vitamin B6, and plant-based antioxidants. These nutrients support the relaxation of smooth muscle tissue, reduce nerve hypersensitivity, and help your brain respond more accurately to bladder signals. Vegetables like cooked spinach, steamed kale, and roasted pumpkin, when eaten with dinner, provide calming minerals and anti-inflammatory phytochemicals that support better bladder control. And importantly, these also help regulate melatonin synthesis, which keeps your circadian rhythm in check, so the body understands that nighttime is for repair, not for elimination. Have you noticed how some nights you sleep right through and others you're up 3 times by 3 a.m.? That's not random. It's a signal that your nervous system is fluctuating and your evening nutrition might be amplifying it. Let's now go one layer deeper. If your bladder or prostate is constantly irritated, even slightly, it sends false alarms to your brain. These are often interpreted as urgent signals to void, even when the bladder isn't truly full. This is where inflammation plays a hidden but powerful role. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Urology found that chronic low-grade inflammation in the bladder lining, urethra, or prostate tissue is significantly correlated with nocturia, especially in older adults. And it doesn't always present with pain or infection. Sometimes it's just an overworked immune system quietly firing in the background. Here's what's happening in your body when this occurs. The lining of your urinary tract, particularly the bladder, contains urothelial cells that detect stretch and pressure. But when inflamed, these cells release excess cytokines, such as interleukin-6 and TNF-alpha, which sensitize nearby nerves. This results in bladder hypersensitivity, meaning the nerves fire off too early and too often, even with small amounts of fluid. So what can you do? Here's the empowering part. Certain vegetables contain compounds that actively reduce this inflammation and help restore calm to the bladder wall. One standout is cooked asparagus. Asparagus contains natural flavonoids like quercetin, which has been shown in studies to reduce cytokine activity and protect epithelial tissues. It also contains asparaginic, which promotes gentle diuresis during the day, allowing your body to expel excess fluid before bedtime rather than during sleep. To use this as a protocol, try incorporating 1/2 cup of lightly steamed asparagus with your late afternoon or early evening meal. Don't overcook it. You want it bright green and tender, not mushy, and pair it with a small pinch of pink salt or a magnesium-rich food like avocado to help balance electrolytes and support hydration rhythms. Another vegetable with similar bladder calming effects is red cabbage. Rich in anthocyanins, the same compounds that give it that deep purple color, red cabbage is a natural anti-inflammatory that also supports gut health. And this is critical because a healthy microbiome lowers systemic inflammation, including in the urinary tract. Have you ever noticed that on days when you eat more processed food or sugar, your bladder feels more irritable? That's not your imagination. High glycemic foods drive up insulin, which in turn amplifies inflammation throughout the body, including the lower urinary tract. So reducing inflammation through food isn't just a long-term health strategy, it's a real-time lever for better sleep and bladder control. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. We dive deep into the science of aging well and turning complex biology into simple daily actions that work with your body, not against it. We've talked about calming the bladder and reducing inflammation. But here's a counterintuitive twist most people never hear. Some vegetables, even ones considered healthy, may worsen your nighttime urination, not because they're bad for you overall, but because of specific compounds they contain that either irritate the bladder lining or stimulate excessive fluid elimination too close to bedtime. Let's break this down scientifically. First, we need to talk about oxalates, naturally occurring compounds found in certain vegetables like spinach, beets, Swiss chard, and rhubarb. While these foods are rich in nutrients, oxalates can crystallize in the urinary tract, especially when consumed in large amounts or if your body doesn't clear them efficiently. A study in Frontiers in Physiology found that oxalate buildup in the bladder may sensitize sensory nerves, increasing urgency and frequency of urination, particularly at night when your body is trying to restore balance. So while spinach might be a superfood for your heart, raw spinach salads at dinner could be worsening your sleep if you're prone to bladder sensitivity. Another category of concern, natural diuretics. especially those high in potassium or with mild diuretic effects, such as celery, cucumber, and watermelon. These foods are incredibly hydrating and can be helpful when timed correctly. But here's what the research shows. If you consume natural diuretics within 2-3 hours of bedtime, you increase the likelihood of nighttime urination because the kidneys are still filtering and excreting excess water during your first few sleep cycles, which are supposed to be your deepest. So a simple rule of thumb is, if it has a high water content or a diuretic effect, eat it earlier in the day, ideally before 4 p.m. That way your body has time to process the fluid and reset before melatonin begins to rise and your circadian rhythm starts preparing for sleep. Let's make this actionable. A helpful protocol is the front-load hydration strategy. Here's how it works. Eat water-rich veggies like cucumbers, tomatoes, and celery at lunch, not dinner. Focus your heavier vegetables like steamed carrots, cooked zucchini, or roasted asparagus at dinner. Stop drinking large amounts of fluid about 90 minutes before bed. Have you noticed how sometimes just one mug of herbal tea too late in the evening can wreck your sleep with 2 bathroom trips? That's the fluid timing trap. Your kidneys don't know it's bedtime unless you train them. And one more tip, always lightly cook oxalate-rich vegetables if you include them. Cooking reduces oxalate levels by up to 50%, making them easier on the bladder and kidneys. Let's now look at the first powerhouse vegetable that's been shown to directly support urinary health, hormonal balance, and nighttime bladder control, especially in seniors. That vegetable is broccoli sprouts. Yes, not just broccoli, but its younger, more potent version, broccoli sprouts, are rich in a compound called sulforaphane, a natural phytochemical that's been studied extensively for its anti-inflammatory, hormonal, and detoxification-supporting properties. Here's what the science shows. A randomized controlled trial published in the World Journal of Urology found that men with benign prostatic hyperplasia, a BPH, a leading cause of nighttime urination, experience fewer nighttime voids and better bladder emptying when consuming sulforaphane-rich foods regularly. But it's not just for men. Women benefit too, because sulforaphane also helps with estrogen metabolism, which is critical for bladder control in postmenopausal women. What's happening in your body when you eat broccoli sprouts? Sulforaphane activates NRF2, a transcription factor that stimulates the production of your body's own antioxidant enzymes. This reduces oxidative stress in the urogenital tract, lowers systemic inflammation, and supports detoxification through the liver, which indirectly impacts how well your kidneys and bladder function. Even more interesting, sulforaphane also reduces DHT, dihydrotestosterone, that contributes to prostate enlargement by lowering DHT naturally. Broccoli sprouts support hormonal balance and ease pressure on the bladder, especially during sleep when the prostate can swell slightly. Let's turn this into a practical tool, protocol. Consume 1/4 to 1/2 cup of fresh broccoli sprouts daily, ideally with lunch or dinner. If you can't find fresh sprouts, look for freeze-dried sprout powder, but ensure it contains myrosinase, the enzyme that activates sulforaphane in the gut. For enhanced absorption, pair sprouts with a bit of fat, like olive oil or avocado, and chew them thoroughly to release the active compounds. Want an even simpler version? You can blend them into a small smoothie, toss them over soup just before serving, or mix them into a warm grain bowl. One caution, if you have hypothyroidism, limit raw broccoli sprouts to 2-3 times a week and lightly steam them if needed, as they contain goitrogens in high doses. Have you ever felt like your body's working against you at night, sending you to the bathroom before you're even fully asleep? This isn't weakness, it's biology. And with the right inputs, you can influence it. If this insight is opening new doors for you, I invite you to like this video and consider subscribing. This channel is all about equipping you with real science and practical habits that actually work, especially after 55. Now let's move to vegetable 2, one that's rarely talked about in the context of bladder health, yet has been used for centuries in Ayurvedic and traditional medicine to soothe the urinary tract, reduce overactive bladder symptoms, and support calm, uninterrupted sleep. That vegetable is bottle gourd, also known as lauki or calabash. At first glance, it might seem like just another mild, water-rich vegetable. But bottle gourd contains a powerful combination of properties that make it uniquely effective for reducing nighttime urination, especially for seniors. Here's how it works. First, bottle gourd has cooling and anti-inflammatory effects on the bladder lining and urinary tract. It's rich in triterpenes and cucurbitacins, natural plant compounds shown to reduce irritation in epithelial tissues, particularly in the urogenital system. In a 2017 study published in Pharmacognosy Research, extracts of bottle gourd were found to lower inflammation markers and reduce frequency of urination in test subjects without any harmful side effects. The researchers suggested its use as a natural adjunct for urinary disorders, particularly in aging populations. But what's even more important for nighttime, bottle gourd promotes gentle diuresis during the day, meaning it helps the body release excess water when you're active, so your kidneys aren't overworking at night. Think of it like this. Instead of shutting down urination entirely, which isn't realistic, bottle gourd reschedules it, shifting fluid excretion toward the earlier part of the day, easing pressure on your system at night. Here's how to use it as a protocol. Peel and cube 1 cup of fresh bottle gourd, then steam or lightly boil it. Add a pinch of cumin or turmeric to enhance its anti-inflammatory properties. Consume it as a warm side dish with dinner, or blend it into a light evening soup with lentils or bone broth for added protein and minerals. If fresh bottle gourd is hard to find, you can use frozen lauki, often available in international or Indian grocery stores. Just ensure it's unseasoned and additive-free. One key habit here: avoid combining bottle gourd with raw tomatoes, garlic, or chili at night, as these can irritate the bladder and negate the calming effects. Let me ask you, have you noticed that some meals leave you feeling more settled before bed, while others seem to wake up your bladder an hour later? That's your body giving you feedback, and when we listen, we can fine-tune our nutrition for restorative sleep. The final vegetable in this science-backed trio is one you may already have in your kitchen, but likely never considered as a tool for reducing nighttime urination and improving your fluid balance. That vegetable is parsley. Now, most people think of parsley as just a garnish, but beneath that humble appearance lies a powerful, kidney-supporting, electrolyte balancing, and circadian-friendly medicinal plant, especially when consumed in the right form and at the right time. Let's get into the science. Parsley is rich in apigenin, a flavonoid that has both anti-inflammatory and mild diuretic properties. But unlike harsh diuretics, which force the kidneys to expel fluid rapidly and can dehydrate you, parsley supports gentle diuresis during daytime hours, helping your body shed excess fluid before you sleep without draining essential minerals. In a study published in the Journal of Ethnopharmacology, parsley extract was shown to increase urinary output without altering electrolyte balance, a rare effect among natural diuretics. And this is key. Too much fluid at the wrong time or too little during the day can both contribute to nighttime urgency. Parsley helps you avoid both extremes. What's happening in your brain when this works? When fluid is excreted in the afternoon and early evening, it allows your antidiuretic hormone, ADH, also called vasopressin, to rise naturally at night. ADH signals the kidneys to slow down urine production while you sleep. But if you're still retaining fluid late in the evening, the system gets overwhelmed, ADH signaling becomes inconsistent, and you wake up needing to go. Parsley helps reset the clock so your kidneys do their work during the day and your brain can focus on deep repair and hormonal regulation at night. Here's a simple protocol. Afternoon parsley tea tool. Boil 1-2 tablespoons of fresh parsley leaves in about 2 cups of water for 5-7 minutes. Drain, let cool slightly, and drink it between 2:00–5:00 p.m. Add a squeeze of lemon for flavor, and to support liver function, which also helps regulate fluid metabolism. You can also finely chop fresh parsley into your lunch salad or stir it into soup or grains at midday. What matters most is the timing. Use parsley to shift your body's fluid processing into the afternoon instead of leaving it for the overnight hours. Let's recap with a real-life question. Have you ever gone to bed feeling fine, only to wake up 3 hours later with a sudden need to urinate, even though you didn't drink right before bed? That's often a sign your kidneys were still catching up from earlier in the day. With parsing the timing protocol, you help your system finish that work before your head hits the pillow. Let's bring it all together. If you've been struggling with frequent urination at night, you already know how disruptive it can be. It breaks your sleep, drains your energy, and interferes with everything from hormone production to memory consolidation and even immune repair. But as we've explored today, this problem isn't just about your bladder. It's about how your brain, hormones, kidneys, and nervous system communicate throughout the day and night. And remarkably, the right vegetables, when chosen and timed strategically, can help restore that communication. Here's a quick recap of the key scientific insights we covered. Frequent urination at night often begins in the brain, where disrupted bladder signaling leads to premature urgency, even if your bladder isn't full. Inflammation in the bladder lining or prostate sensitizes nerves, causing more frequent false alarms to urinate. Certain vegetables, especially high oxalate or water-rich ones, can make symptoms worse when consumed too close to bedtime. Broccoli sprouts, rich in sulforaphane, help balance hormones and calm inflammation that contributes to bladder pressure. Bottle gourd soothes the urinary tract and helps shift fluid excretion earlier in the day. Parsley, especially as a mid-afternoon tea, supports kidney function and helps reset your fluid balance rhythm before bed. Now the practical part. If you want to experience fewer nighttime wake-ups starting this week, here's a simple tool: the 3-day evening bladder reset protocol. Lunch: add a handful of broccoli sprouts to your meal. Afternoon: drink 1 cup of parsley tea. Dinner: include 1 cup of steamed bottle gourd or lightly cooked bladder-friendly vegetables like zucchini or carrots. Bonus: avoid high oxalate or raw water-rich veggies in your evening meal. Follow this for just 3 days and track your sleep quality. You may notice not only fewer bathroom trips, but deeper, more restorative rest, better morning energy, and even calmer digestion. Remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about consistency and alignment with your biology. And as always, if you're dealing with more serious or persistent symptoms, speak with your doctor. These tools are supportive but not replacements for medical care. Here's your final challenge. Tonight, change one thing. Whether it's moving your cucumber salad to lunch, brewing a parsley tea, or adding broccoli sprouts to your plate, take one step. Your bladder, your brain, and your future self will thank you. Dr. Tobias Everett, we thank you for sharing your expertise. We thank you for the food and if this content helped you, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who needs better sleep and better health after 60. This channel is a space for practical science, honest insights, and actionable change. Join us on the journey. I'll see you in the next one. My guest today is Dr. Eric Broga. Welcome to the podcast, my friend.